Hi everyone, we are from Group 15 and today we are going to present about the China pottery. I'm Rina Xiao and these are my groupmates. In this presentation, we are going to talk about the background of China's pottery, three different analyses and the recommendations. So let's begin with the background of China pottery. Chinese pottery, which is known as porcelain, being the translation of Taoshuo by Stephen W. Bushell. The word porcelain is derived from porcellana used by Marco Polo to describe the pottery that he saw in China. Did you guys know that there is the porcelain mania arose in Europe? Chinese porcelain has become famous during the Ming and Qing dynasty. People from Europe and all around the world are buying the blue and white porcelain from China. As you can see from the pictures, Chinese porcelain can be seen in European paintings. So how does this happen? Let's talk about the Chinese porcelain history. The ancient city of Changnan in the modern-day Jingdezhen is the center of China's ceramic culture where porcelain was produced. The place is well known for the production of porcelain and has driven to the export of fine china to the world. The technology of producing porcelain was developed over the course of hundreds of years. The precise of its invention is disputed. Primitive form of porcelain has existed in China as far back as the Han Dynasty. During the Han Dynasty, the Yue clan of Shangyu area in Zhejiang province of the Yangtze River was producing what is known as leadenware, a greenish-colored porcelain. But what considered as today's standard as a true porcelain was actually developed in the Song Dynasty. Song Dynasty porcelain is distinctive for its soft green-gray color and the light cracks that are visible on the surface. More type of pottery development being experiment with the different type of fire, high-fired and low-fired ceramics in the Tang Dynasty. Ming Dynasty is the era that we saw true scientific and artistic innovation in the creation of pottery. In the Qing Dynasty, it was common for the decoration to include more arrays of colors. There are several factors that result in the constant evolution of Chinese-style porcelain. The personal preference of the Chinese emperor, the advancement in the technique used and the material available in the productions, and the influence of the art from other civilizations which has been imported to China along the Silk Road trade route. The first European to have contact with Chinese porcelain are the Portuguese. In 1602, when the Portuguese cargo ship, the Santa Catarina, bearing 1,000 pieces of Ming porcelain, attacked by the Dutch battleship, causing the crew to flee. The Dutch think that the porcelain was appropriate and taken back to Netherlands, where it ended up sold so well at auction. The Chinese porcelain was mesmerized by Europeans and they tried to make it but failed to do so. Because their lack of the ability to create the porcelain, it was seen as a foreign luxury which has signified high status and sophistication. In the first half of the 17th century, roughly 3 million pieces of Chinese porcelain were sold to the European countries, and that's how the porcelain mania arose. Porcelain can be classified by type. First is a sunshine pottery, a tricolor glazed pottery. It does not necessarily to have three colors, it sometimes has more. The subtlety in the effect of the three-color glaze on the pottery has endured through the age. This pottery dish is a Chinese sunshine glazed pottery from the Tang Dynasty. Real pottery uses the crazing of a glaze technique. The crackles on the surface of a glaze when it cools and contracts too quickly. Dinware is characterized by the ivory glaze and the elegant carving which produce a pull-tear effect. Where Gentiware is a thick glaze and black clay body pottery. They use iron-rich clay and high temperature to create a blackish molten glaze that is vivid in its dark shade. Besides Junware, which is a thicker piece of ceramic that covered with a purple glaze, which was so thick that the viscosity created a shimmering opalescence on the surface of the ceramic when it was placed in the kiln. Among all these types, blue and white pottery that made in the Ming Dynasty is the most famous one. which is best known for the incredible vividness of the blue glaze combined with the purity of the fine white porcelain which is popular to the modern day. So that's all from me and I'm going to pass my time to Hao-Xian. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Hao-Xian. Thanks for the previous presenter. And the topic that I'm covering today is the changing nature of the global trading environment of Chinese pottery. As mentioned earlier, Chinese pottery started in ancient China and it also known as Chinese porcelain. It is made from a kind of cow called kaolin. A well-kept porcelain piece can last for over 1,000 years and it is expensive. They were used as bowls and plates by the Chinese emperors as they are the only ones who can afford them. Porcelain helps promoted China's international trade and it also boosts China's image and diplomacy. So back in those days, these Chinese porcelains were not those cheap and low quality items like those mass production bowls and cutleries. That's how porcelain became the representative product of China. The ceramic sector in China has developed a very strong scale impact and has a lot of untapped potential. It snowballed China industrial development, although China's ceramic industry has improved the level of process. The ceramic industry in China still lack of standardization of process and technology. Moving on, numerous ceramic or pottery businesses, especially those in non-ceramic cluster areas, struggles to meet the demands of the high-grade ceramic production process due to a lack of standardization and the availability of specialized raw material and auxiliary materials. When comparing to the international ceramic business, majority of ceramic businesses in China lack an innovative spirit and they engage very little in research and development. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Derek. As you can see, I will be the following presenters. Before I start into my part of sharing some of the trends and strategies, I would like to thank both previous presenters for their wonderful speech on sharing the backgrounds and also the changing nature of China pottery industry. Okay, let's straight to our main objective now. What am I going to share throughout the presentation is what is the current status and also so-called the trend of China pottery industry. Without any doubt, we are referring to this modern world where people are mainly relying on network and internet to gain access for informations and news. Therefore, consumers nowadays tend to be smarter. I suppose not the word smarter, but more informative. By browsing through internet or network, they can obtain any information about the sales of pottery. So it is inevitable they are looking for products which are more functional and fancies in designs and many variety kinds of scents. Not only that, when it comes to equipment and manufacturing, all these pots technologies become a new innovation, I would say. They will heavily affect the manufacturing of the pottery from design, producing, and also quality control. Machines will definitely be a handful when it comes to crafting all of this. Well, for access for the product and operation is pretty much internet oriented. What does it mean of internet oriented? All those e-commerce and e-business that allows B2C approach shift towards online platform. All of these aspects, the current existing trend are respectively crucial because they can influence the global decision making, especially global business expansion and where to internalization. Yeah, next. Okay, global strategic market decision. As what I mentioned from the previous slide, trend can affect the business decision and in which sites we are talking about. The opportunities is obvious. Every business is aiming to gain profits and maximize their revenue as the main goal. Studying in the trend of certain contexts will prove to be vital. They can provide the insight of clue and knowledge and what is demand of a market in a certain destination. Analysis of economic performance, income levels, and also the spending power. All this criteria is the key to achieve success. And when you are trying to expand business to the area, what do we need to study to the potential destination of the background? Well, every country has their own very unique culture and also rules and regulations to follow. For example, the spending pattern in Malaysia and also China is very much different in a lot of ways. And this is why we study and foresee all the potential possibilities, including the positive one and also negative one. Next, here comes the marketing strategies. How usually is the pottery industry marketers or sellers find and identify their potential customers? Not only like they are targeting the whole population in the country, they were like that would be a very bad idea to begin with, due to how much costs are needed for the expenses, also promotional and operation. First, we spot the segmentation marketing. Who to target is most important for all business. The target market, when businesses are able to identify all those who most likely to purchase your product, it can save you a lot of times and money. That's why we can say it enhances the efficiency of market decision. To add up on that, basically there are a few methods of segmentation strategies, like you look into the demographic, which is the general profile like age, gender, income level, and then we have the geographic, which is the locational analysis, and also behavioral and psychographic, referring to the mindset of thoughts. And one of the greatest example we will find out in one of the research studies that adult women are one of the most likely target audience to pottery business. Yeah, okay, next. Furthermore, after locating who to target and who are the potential consumers, we are focusing on making the actions, which is to capture the market share. The strategies to do so for pottery industry is the market penetration strategies. As you can see, the pottery business market business size can reach up to approximately 11 billion US dollar worldwide, with compound annual growth rate of 3.8% from 2022 to 2030, which simply means it will keep gradually growing. That means there are opportunities out there, hence marketing campaign will never absence, like modern approach social medias, web ads, and traditional approach TV, newspaper, and you can somehow spot pottery are being advertised at some point. Apart from that, there are live commerce happening all the time in China market, selling out potteries through our online platform, and it's very effective, I would say. And to achieve maximum optimization, supply chain management is another crucial aspect because it can optimize the product flow, such as increasing the product demonstrate everywhere you can access. So that's all for my part. I appreciate all of you to listening, and I'm going to pass it to my buddy Jordan to continue. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Jordan. Next, we'll take a look into the ethical consideration in the industry. Firstly, the environmental impact. China pottery are mainly made by the raw material of kaolin, which is also known as China clay. The China clay can be mined from the hill of kaolin. In fact, it has been mined for over centuries. And China clay can be used in making potteries and also in medication, which is used to stop bleeding. Due to the consistency of mining from the kaolin hill, China clay has been reducing from time to time. Not long from now, China clay might be close to finished utilizing. Hence, it is likely that there will be out of such resources in the future. Secondly, pottery making requires high heating and during the productions. While the productions are going on, high concentration of harmful particles are being produced in the air. This high concentration of harmful particles are linked to our human body despite of having air filtering system in the working place. Hence, there are risks towards the environment and also the personal health. Here are some recommendations towards the mentioned issue. Firstly, the industry may search for a new type of raw material to replace China clay. As for the air pollution issue, government may establish a better policy towards air pollution issue and also by establishing rules and procedures in handling production waste. Next, the gender equality ethical consideration. According to CNOMA, China Gender Equality Index falls under 0.68, where 0 stands as no inequality and 1 stands as maximum inequality. Research shows that China is a country with high inequality in gender, and the salary of women are lower than men according to Athene research. Looking into the graph on the right, we can see that women who are in employment or looking for a job has been decreasing throughout the years, while men are still having a higher percentage in employment. As for the recommendation for inequality, is to have the industry to provide an equal amount of opportunities and treatments toward both gender. As for any type of unfair treatments in gender, Victims should be encouraged to report to relevant departments for further investigation. Lastly, is the labor practice ethical consideration. In China, there are reported cases of discriminatory work policy, long working hours, lacking of formal contracts, and forced labor. In the past, there were reported cases of enslavement of young, elderly, and people who are with disability to work in clean. Clean is a building where potteries are being heated to shape, as the picture has shown. The reported cases reflected that the pottery industry in China have poor practices in labor practice. And the recommendations are to report such cases into China Anti-Slavery Constitution and also have union labor practices such as labor inspection from time to time to ensure safety, labor rights, and human rights in labor practices. As for the overall recommendation towards the industry, firstly is to have a market research for all the businesses in the industry to avoid problems and issues, resolve any doubts and information lacking before taking any sort of business action, or else it may cause failures in business expansion. Secondly is to efficiently utilize the customer segmentation tools by enabling to analyze and provide in-depth reports with data that helps to interpret the potential customer based on the customer personal aspect. And lastly is to take ethical acts into consideration. Industry should perform ethical acts that are mentioned in the previous slides towards the environment, employment, and also labor practices to reduce any unnecessary issue. That's all from our presentation. We'll show references in a short while. Thank you for your time, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your rather detailed kind of explanation on Chinese pottery. You are the only group that actually has explained the handicraft very detailed. The other groups have just only give a brief idea of it. That's very good, Rina, for doing that hard work or effort in making and doing a more detailed study of the handicraft. Okay. Yes. I was also interested in your mentioning about the emperor's personal preference of China pottery as a factor of the evolution of the Chinese pottery. So what are the differences between different emperors' preferences in different dynasties? Maybe give us a few examples, Rina.
Okay. In the Han Dynasty, primitive porcelain are used for the mortuary pottery rather than daily use. So during the Tang Dynasty, because the trading from the Silk Road, it inspired the Chinese blue and white porcelain as cited in Jiang 2021. With the mass production of blue and white porcelains, it indeed favored by the emperor by the Tang Dynasty. So during the Song Dynasty, ceramics are made expressly for the Chinese imperial court. So Mori 2018 states that the Guanware, with its crackle grayish blue glaze, is the imperial preference during the Southern Song period. And during the Yuan Dynasty, blue and white porcelains had claimed as a pride of place among imperial wares until the early decades of Ming Dynasty. And lastly, in the Qing Dynasty, emperor preference on the porcelain is to have more colors with floral and garden view. The blue and white porcelain with dragon is design favor the emperor as well. Du Hell 2018 state that the table set for the Emperor Qianlong during the Qing Dynasty include enamel bowls with floral patterns and some with dragon designs, family rose porcelain teapot, and wine cups and napkins with dragon design. Yeah. So that's
Okay, very good. But what happened to the pottery if they don't meet the emperor's preferences?
So this one, I think the porcelain will give out to the citizens because the porcelain will only, the emperor will only keep the seen that it meets his standard, right?
Mm.
And of course, if they want to import the porcine, they need to have certain standards as well.
Okay. Okay, number two, my second question is, it's true that the Europeans imported a lot of white and blue Chinese pottery during the 17th century. Why do you think the Europeans love the Chinese pottery? Give two or three reasons.
First, for the Chinese pottery, the European why they like it is because it is durability and its delicacy. And the second one, it is the price for its exotic and origins. And the third one is because the European at first they did not have any pottery in the country. So when the first Chinese pottery came into the country, it impressed them and they feel like it's very unique and special for the Europeans.
Okay, good answer. Okay. Um, you mentioned that kaolin can last about 1,000 years. What type of other raw materials are needed to make Chinese pottery besides kaolin?
Okay, for this question, the common used material is the Afton material, which includes mineral, soil, rocks, um, porcelain stone, quartz, and feldspar, and also water. So these are the three main materials that is used in making pottery.
Yeah, so, okay, one of you mentioned that kaolin is reduced after so many years of production, and you recommend searching for other raw materials. Can you suggest other raw materials that can replace kaolin?
Okay, according to research that we did, that is currently not much of a material that can replace kaolin right now. First, we have to understand that clay comes in four types, which is the earthware, which is used make to look like a plastic pottery. And as for second is ball clay. Ball clay is used in sinks, making sinks, but then it has a lot of impurities. And thirdly is the stoneware. Stoneware is where we use at mugs and pots, but it has a stone surface fuse. Okay, so this tree does not fits the China pottery standard. So porcelain is the only material that is suitable for making China ceramics. So currently there is not much that can replace kaolin, but in the future we believe that there can be renewable resources and also maybe a resource that we can find in the future, because there's many things that we haven't discovered in this world, like under the ocean. So currently there's no answer for this, but then we believe that there will be one that could be replacing kaolin.
Okay, good. For ethics, you show a kiln that and stated a high heating is used in kilns. Approximately what temperature is reached by these kilns to fire the pottery?
Okay, the fire temperature that helps to shape this pottery is around 1162 degrees Celsius to 1240 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, very, very hot. How long do they need to fire this dome?
Okay, they have to fire the pottery for twice. So the first time is for 8 to 10 hours. Second time is for 12 hours. So in total it's 22 hours for the whole process.
Wow, very long. Okay. Today, many young Chinese do not want to engage in pottery as it is very time consuming and a low paid job. Do you think machines can replace people in making those teapots, cups, vases, etc. in the factories? If so, what kind of machines are used in factories nowadays?
Okay, I will be answering for this questions. That was a very good question. I will say that yes, it will, and it's inevitable because especially nowadays, people love to work in a more comfortable environment instead of working in factories, of course, sweating out themselves. And also that on top of that, Chinese technology is improving like a fire rocket nowadays. Everybody knows, and there's more and more factories opening in China right now. For example, like the technologies of AI, robotic, and also big data analysis, which will improve the efficiency also very effectively of the manufacturing, of course. And on top, besides that, I would say that it will not fully substitute, I would say, substitute the manpower, because it's still robots and machines still needs people to access to to operate so forth. That's why maybe I would say the job will shift to another perspective or another job scope, something like that. More like you creating the pots itself is like you operates the machine to create the pots instead. Yeah.
Actually, I watched a video that factory was using mostly robots and other robot, but even the clay, they just built everything and then they have machines that already pre-prepared for that. So actually, it's possible to have machines in the factories, because in China they also face this problem of manpower. Even though the country has a lot of but huge population, but young people nowadays want to work in other type of fields rather than pottery. Okay, you all also mentioned about fairs or exhibitions. That's where you can showcase your Chinese ceramics. It seems there was one fair or exhibition in the year 2020. Where and when was it held? Which countries also participated in it?
Okay, so instead of 2020, I would say the most recent one, which is there's a big exhibition which called the Ceramic China, the China International Ceramic Technology Equipment, Building Ceramics and Sanitary Ware Expo 2022, which happens in the Guangzhou, China, in a Canton Fair complex, and it was held on June 29, 2022 until July 2, 2022. Yeah, so the attendees is more than 100K of peoples and representing countries like many Asian countries like Japan, India, Korea, and also from the Europes and the continent of Americas like Argentina's, Americans, yeah, and something like that. And besides that, if to talk about the upcoming one, there's also one which happens in Shanghai, which is the Shanghai International Advanced Ceramic Exhibition and Conference, which happens November 4th, 2022 until 6th November 2022. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so there's a lot of interest in Chinese ceramics, actually, and maybe other ceramics as well. So, so there are actually still a huge market for this pottery, right? People are still interested to buy pottery either as a collection or to maybe cook in it and maybe use to eat from it or drink from it. So that's very interesting. We didn't know that such a topic can actually be very interesting. Thank you for coming. I think that's about it.